Have you ever faked a relationship? I mean, really faked it. For me, it started as a desperate solution to a very public problem. My ex-fiancé, the man I thought was my forever, decided to announce his new engagement at the biggest social event of the year. And who was his new bride-to-be? My former best friend. The humiliation was an open wound, and I needed a bandage, fast. Enter Alexander Sterling. Arrogant, infuriating, and my company's biggest rival. He was also devastatingly handsome, which was both a blessing and a curse. We had a history of clashing in boardrooms, our verbal spars legendary. But that night, as I was trying to become invisible, Ecornet not with his usual smug grin, but with an expression I couldn't quite read. He'd overheard the gossip, the whispers, the pitiful glances, and then he made an offer that was as insane as it was tempting. "Let me help you," he said, his voice a low rumble. "Let's give them something real to talk about." His proposal, we pretend to be a couple. A passionate, head-over-heels couple. His motive, he had his own reasons for wanting to stir the pot. Something about a business deal and appearing settled. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement. A business transaction. I hated that I even considered it. Hating Alexander was easy. It was comfortable. But the thought of wiping the smug look off my ex's face, that was a temptation I couldn't resist. So, I agreed. 1 month. 1 month. That was the deal. We'd be the picture-perfect couple, attend a few events, and then go our separate ways. Reputations intact. The first few days were awkward. We had to learn each other's fake history, our first date, our favorite things to do together. It felt like studying for an exam. The hand-holding was stiff. The smiles were forced. When he'd put his arm around me in public, I'd flinch. We were actors playing a part, and honestly, we weren't very good at it. He was still the same irritating man who argued with me over market shares. Just now he was doing it while holding my hand. But then, things started to shift. It was subtle at first. A genuine laugh escaped me when he made a sarcastic comment about a stuffy gallery owner. He remembered I didn't like olives, and picked them out of my salad without me having to ask. We started talking about more than just business, and our fake relationship. We talked about our families, our dreams, the pressures we were both under. I discovered a side of Alexander the Fuzz never knew existed. The man behind the corporate armor was surprisingly thoughtful and witty, and a little vulnerable. The lines began to blur. The hand-holding felt less like a performance and more like a comfort. The glances we shared across crowded rooms held a charge that wasn't just for show. I found myself looking forward to his texts, which had evolved from logistical planning to inside jokes. This fake world we built was starting to feel more real than my actual life. And that terrified me, because I knew it had an expiration date. Our agreement included a weekend trip to a charity retreat in the mountains. 1 cabin, 1 bed, a classic recipe for disaster, or so I thought. The first night, we built a pillow wall, down the middle of the bed like teenagers, at a sleepover. It was ridiculous, but it felt necessary. A physical boundary to reinforce the emotional one I was desperately trying to maintain. We lay there in the dark, talking for hours. The pretense was gone. It was just Alex and me. And then came the morning that changed everything. I woke up slowly, feeling an unfamiliar warmth wrapped around me. The pillow wall was gone. I was curled on my side, and pressed against my back was the solid, warm length of Alexander's body. His arm was draped protectively over my waist, his hand resting on my stomach. His chin was nestled in the crook of my neck, his soft breaths ghosting over my skin. My own breath caught in my throat. Every nerve ending in my body was on fire. This wasn't pretend. This wasn't for show. This was the quiet intimacy of 2 people who had found comfort in each other in the dead of night. My heart was hammering against my ribs, a frantic, wild rhythm. I should have moved. I should have pulled away and rebuilt the wall. It was the logical, self-preservation thing to do. But I couldn't. I just lay there, soaking in the feeling of being held, of being safe. I'd spent so long feeling broken and exposed. And in the arms of my fake boyfriend, my sworn enemy, I felt whole. I carefully turned in his arms to face him. He was still asleep, his features relaxed and peaceful, without the sharp, calculating look he usually wore. He looked younger, more approachable. My fingers itched to trace the line of his jaw, to brush a stray piece of hair from his forehead. It was a dangerous, reckless impulse. I was falling for him. Not the character we'd created, but the real Alexander. The man who challenged me, who made me laugh, and who held me like I was something precious. As if sensing my turmoil, his eyes fluttered open. They were hazy with sleep, and for a moment, there was no filter, no pretense, just pure, unguarded emotion. A looked at me, his gaze dropping to my lips, and the air crackled with unspoken tension. The world seemed to shrink until it was just the two of us in that tiny cabin, tangled in the sheets. He didn't pull away. Instead, he tightened his hold slightly, his thumb beginning to draw slow, mesmerizing circles on my hip. "Morning," he murmured, his voice thick with sleep. And in that moment, I knew that this was no longer a game. The deal was off, because my heart had just signed a contract with no expiration date. And as he leaned in, closing the small gap between us, I realized I was about to break the one rule we had from the very beginning. Don't let it get real. Too late. So, what happens when the charade is over, but the feelings are just beginning? When you wake up in the arms of the one person you're supposed to hate and realize he might just be the one person you cool and live without? Well, that's where our real story begins. Thanks for listening, and if you want to hear more stories like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.